Hey y'all! Welcome back to Perspective Perspoctive, a show that shines light on how your internal and external language has a massive impact on your daily life. I'm your host, Nick Strack, and today I'll be talking about why I have a therapist! Whoop whoop! Please note, to be precise with my language, for the purposes of today's show, I'll be using phrases like have a therapist, see a therapist, and visit a therapist, all to mean share about my life with and seek honest feedback from a therapist. My short reason for having a therapist is, I believe that in order to be my best self in the world, I must be open to feedback from other points of view. Otherwise, I'll stay blinded by the same old me stuff until I die. When I refer to old me, I'm talking about a previous version of myself who was less self-aware than I am now. My longer reason is, I used to think it was a sign of weakness when I heard about someone having to see a therapist. I figured there was something gravely wrong with that person such that they needed to seek out external help. Yikes for them! As a result, I went around with a Lone Ranger mentality, thinking I could and should be handling all of my issues alone. I hid my fears of not being good enough, not fitting in, not being smart, pretty, or skinny enough. I stuffed them deep down and pretended they didn't exist. Never talk about your issues with anyone. That worked out really well for me because I turned into a snarky, sarcastic bitch. Passive aggression, biting comebacks, and blatant judgment were my defensive weapons of choice. I could cut people down with one snide comment and I enjoyed it. If people were laughing at them, they wouldn't be looking at me. I couldn't risk being exposed for the scared and sad fraud that I was. I recognized my defensive and attacky behavior as wrong in theory, but my desire to appear confident and powerful trumped my desire for connection. I brushed it all under a put on a front rug and went on my not-so-merry way. Until, in July of 2009, I received some feedback in a personal development course that shook me to my core. Someone told me I showed up to her as arrogant, superior, righteous, mean, sad, and insecure. I was floored, shocked, and mortified. I couldn't believe I'd become so entrenched in my defensively bitchy ways of being that I came off that way within one day of meeting a totally new person. That was it. I was done being that girl. It was draining and it kept people at arm's length. That girl wasn't me. She was the built-up defense mechanism version of me that I'd been operating as for years, and I was sick of it. For those of you who may think her feedback was harsh or mean-spirited, I want you to know that I deeply treasure the honesty of that woman, who, by the way, is one of my closest friends still, because her feedback was my wake-up call. In that moment, I decided to make a change. I decided to start showing the real me to the world, flaws and all. I talked openly and honestly about what I was going through. I shared my thoughts and feelings with others. And I sought out honest feedback and took action when I felt inspired to change the way I showed up in the world. Then something magical happened when I chose to live authentically. I experienced a more empowered sense of self, and I felt more deeply connected to other people. Fancy that! Fast forward to present day and why I see a therapist. Over the years, I've learned that asking for help and owning my vulnerabilities isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and courage. I couldn't possibly give myself unbiased feedback when I'm only having conversations with the little voice in my head. That little voice is usually the cause of whatever difficulty I'm having in the first place because it's playing back my old limiting beliefs on repeat. So, with the loving assistance of my therapist, I'm able to honestly share what's going on with me and receive helpful feedback from her on which thoughts and actions are coming from limiting beliefs and which are coming from a place of deep truth and knowing. So there you have it. Perspective. Seeking out external help, professional or otherwise, is a sign of weakness because it admits that I'm wrong or having a hard time with something or unable to figure this out by myself, and showing that to the world would be a bad and disreputable thing to do. Perspective. Seeking out external help is a sign of inner strength and courage because I own that I'm having a hard time and I am committed enough to myself to proactively shift my experience to be something positive and empowering. I don't care what the world will think of me because I'm doing it for me and anyone I ever interact with. I clearly stand behind the perspective side of this debate. These aforementioned benefits are also reasons for finding my tribe, my chosen family, my besties, etc., but I'm saving that topic for its own episode. Once this video ends, take a moment to think about your beliefs around seeking professional help and get clear on why you think those things. Does it come from a place of wanting to look good on the outside or wanting to feel good on the inside? Please comment with your thoughts and discoveries below. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you for tuning in. Peace out with your fleece out.